Good morning, everyone. After Hurricane Katrina in the US, 17.5% of women surveyed in Louisiana displacement camps reported gender-based violence. In Bangladesh, after Cyclone Roanu, women reported increased domestic violence, trafficking, forced marriage, as well as sexual assaults. Here in Australia, after the Black Saturday bushfires, over half of the women that were surveyed in 2 disaster-impacted communities reported domestic violence, and a third of those reported this violence for the first time in their relationships. I've come here today from northern New South Wales, unceded, beautiful Bundjalung country, and I was on the ground during the 2022 major flood disasters, so I was able to hear about and see firsthand the risks that women were facing during these chaotic and traumatic times. These experiences point to a bigger global problem that's increasingly being understood: the link between disasters fueled by anthropogenic climate change and increases in violence against women, both during these disasters, but also in the months and years following these shocks. Through research, we're beginning to understand what drives this violence. Disasters exacerbate the pre-existing inequalities, but they also create unique disaster-related conditions that increase risk to women. Understanding these risks and drivers is vital, but what's missing is understanding what keeps women safe in the context of these climate-induced disasters, particularly in terms of that community level where disaster impacts are felt acutely. My PhD helps to address this gap. I'll be exploring what conditions in communities increase women's safety in the context of climate-induced disasters. My focus will be on Australia. This is a continent that's highly vulnerable to extreme weather events and also is experiencing an ongoing crisis of men's violence against women. I'll be using a comparative case study approach across 3 Australian communities impacted by common disaster events: flooding, bushfire, and floods. I'll be engaging key representatives from the women's violence, disaster response, and adjacent support organisations and governance bodies, comparing their perspectives with available data with the aim to understand what it is that increases women's safety from violence in these contexts, using an intersectional lens to figure out which groups are experiencing these protective conditions and who is excluded, as well as how these conditions change across these different disaster events and how do they remain the same. Disasters are becoming more frequent and more severe with climate change. Most of you in this room would have lived through at least one disaster event, and we all know women who are experiencing violence in our communities. It is urgent that we understand what strengthens women's safety in the context of these intersecting crises and link these insights back into the policies and strategies that are being formed and shaped in Australia in terms of responding to disasters, climate change, and violence against women to better inform decision-making moving forward. Thanks very much.